Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. Today's Wednesday, October the 8th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and once again, we are going to look at the daily formations. So, we'll begin with the E-mini S&P. Having looked down, for those of us who are familiar traders with me, remember that we've got our 30-minute closing candle from yesterday, which was not very big. Take a look. Right? As opposed to the 11 a.m. candlestick, which had the biggest volume associated with it. We are inside of that candle, so the top of the range is what we're staring down. We know 67.74 was a big deal. We also had several thousand contracts go off. Somebody did a 3,000 lot, and somebody did a 2,890 lot, and that price was at 67.65. The 3,000 lot was at 67.66.50, and we just came in and kissed that number and moved back. So the traders who took it out of the box are going to try and keep it out of the box. The put support action is quite tight. The 0 DTE put support is the same area as a high volume node. And on the daily chart, we can see that they moved the put wall way up. Nope, they moved it up 200 points. I think it was 60. No, it's still the same. 6,400. Yep. Still the same, way below. We are on the top of the value area high. The value area high is 6,751. What is the order of the day? It is buy the dip. That being said, the line in the sand is the low of yesterday. We had the 0 DTE put wall down there at 67.40. That number has risen to 67.60, so they are trying to push price higher. Notice call resistance remains at 6,800, but the put wall is a fair bit higher today. Line in the sand, that's what we're going to stare down. If we do lose the put wall at 67, gosh, my eyes aren't focusing today, 67.60, that means we've got a potential rotation down. On the recovery of 67.60, it becomes a long action event once more, but there is a lot of selling here, and this was, I forget what it's called. It's a candlestick that is my brain. I have been up for hours. Okay. Yeah, my brain forgot what that's called. You know what that is. It's a candlestick that engulfs. There we go. It came to me finally. Engulfs the other candlestick on a downward pressure event. So the 50% zone is what we're going to watch. And let's go bottom to top. And look at that. The 50% zone is that 67.75. Notice it has risen, and I don't see a lot of sellers floating around. There are some big sellers at 6,800. Let's see how many are up there. Yeah, at this point, only 213. We do have, let's see what's on the docket. Good heavens. Today is Wednesday, FOMC minutes. We got more people chit-chatting. All of these are Fed speakers. A reaction to the FOMC minutes might give us a particular number to watch, but that's a long way away. And so we trade support to resistance and resistance to support until it definitively breaks out of the range, and then we move forward. Right? Got the edges above us, 6,800, 6,824. Regions below us. The next gamma line that's important is 67.50. And then below that, 67.40. That was yesterday's 0 DTE put wall. Let's go to the NQ. Remember, the NQ yesterday had a tremendous amount of movement in terms of rotation, but look at the range, and not an engulfing candlestick, still making higher lows. The AI movement, huge. Some bank just signed a big AI deal. I mean, this is the 90s, except for the fact that there's a lot more money under management than in the 90s. And so there's not as big a propensity to have these deep rotational sells. We could see some triggers, but I doubt this is any more. If we fade, it's nothing more than a garden variety fade at this juncture, right? We'll see what happens as the market unfolds. Let's take a look at these gamma lines. We're above the we are below the 0DT call wall. That is currently 25,150. The 0DTE put wall is at 24,900. Expanded call walls are at 25,500. Those are the weekly and monthlies. And the put wall is at 24,700, well below us, right? Well below us. So what we do see is that they did expand the call wall higher, but they've left the put wall for the big weekly formations and monthly formations in place. So what are we staring down? Where is the line in the sand? My suspicion, it is old resistance, new support at around 25,000. Noticed, we dipped below into the put wall yesterday. I think it was like 24,000. It might have been 24,900, but we had this area that came just shy of it. So look at the wicks. These wicks are pretty important. And now the congestion zone at 25,107 looks like a potential breakaway event with the level to hold as support at 24,982. So we buy the dip, sell the spike until it breaks. And so the range outside the spike below is very shallow, but the range outside the spike above could give us a pretty nice upshot for buying pressure, right? So if we break out, we test the call wall, 25,150. We test the gamma line of 25,250, and then the call wall again, 25,500. On the way down, we have the break of 25,980, the put wall at 25,500. These are the stair steps we want to walk through. Accelerated motion takes us to, that's a sticky one. I would say 24,850. I'm going to draw a line right there. And then, of course, the put wall below at 24,700. It is my suspicion that we do fade. We've had a lot of big sellers show up on the board. We go back to our 30-minute candlestick formations. We are now below the open of the pre-market session at 25,000, maybe 60. And so now we're headed into that VWAP and the big box of contention where we've been sitting around accumulating. No, that's this one. Accumulating inventory once again. So my thought is that accumulation of inventory comes all the way down to 24,984, and then we'll see what it gives. But we're locked in this big range, right? For sure. And so let's just, for grins, let's clone this. And then, whoops. Take it down. Takes us below the 0DTE put wall, but I suspect there's a lot of battle there at 24,900. Stay frosty, friends. Let's take a look at gold. Now, remember what I said yesterday? I said, what? Look at that. Good heavens. Let's do a Fibonacci on that. Taking a look at gold, 4,150, big fat round number. Could be moving there. As I mentioned, I believe that pullbacks are going to continue to be bought. Gold gets to 5,000 pretty easily. We'll see what gives after that. But doesn't mean you buy and hold until there. As I mentioned, around the big fat round numbers, we have the potential to be 50 points up, 50 points down. It's already 50 points up. The last time we did this area around 3,000, we went $71 above the $3,000 mark before we came in the box. And so we've got 10 more bucks to go, if that is the scenario that we are looking at. Call resistance, I mean, we blew through that like it wasn't even there, folks. I mean, we dilly-dallied a little bit, but not too much. Monthly put walls, monthly weekly put walls still down at 3,700. The put wall for the 0 DTEs is 3,950, and the call wall is 4,000. So, that's big, right? The high end, oh my goodness, look at this. The high, 4,070, just as we thought. Let's see if that's the high today. Let's see if that's the high. That would be very interesting, friends. That would be quite an interesting pattern. It would be just a heuristic, simply because I have one observation, and that is all I see. But that 4,070 has brought us to 4,150, which I think is some kind of Fibonacci I've got, but it's a round number. The gamma line below it is that 4,050 directly. The VWAP is at 4,044, and then we've got another gamma line, 4,035, then another 4,020, the call wall way down here. Remember what the traders want to do, folks. They want to get it back to that call wall. I don't know that they are going to get that today. That would be quite dramatic, although I'm not disinclined to short this. If we lose this 4,053, kiss 4,050, and then bounce up again and lose that 4,053. Look at the outsized pre-market buying. It is gigantic. Absolutely gigantic. Some of us trade silver. What are we in the Z contract? Sure. We can see that silver follows the rhythm of gold very much. It's doing the same sort of thing. Value area high, about $48.54. This would be the area I would anticipate seeing the first pass bounce. There is a gamma line at $48 and let's say 77 cents. The call wall is all the way up at 50. The put wall is down at $46.50. The 0 DTE put wall is $47.55. The 0 DTE call wall at $48. We are 595 ticks above that. 600 points above that. It moves in 0.005. So there we have that area. What do we expect? Here's the heavy congestion zone. If per happenstance silver and gold take the same turn, they're going to try approach this call wall. Potentially the line in the sand is going to be where the VWAP sits at $48.39. But that's a very interesting move there, folks. Very, very interesting. All right, let's finally take a look at SPY. Locked sideways, we know that. We can see that from the pre-market. We are caught right at the call wall. Now notice how these sellers get things, they breach above that wall, and then they just take it in. They force the price down, so their options will expire worthless, and they still have the power to do that. Buyers are not in obvious control, especially since we're able to push the traders below the call wall, which currently sits at $671 for the 0 DTEs. For the weekly and monthlies, they sit above. The call resistance wall sits above at 680, with the next highest gamma line at 675. That makes fairly good sense. The put walls for the 0 DTEs, 665. When it gets down to that zone, start looking for traders to accumulate, and they will push the price action back up into our little box. That's where they want them, between 666 and 671. That's the zone. Breaking below there, we could have some accelerated selling, but I really do not anticipate a lot of that. We don't have a catalyst. Could the Fed minutes give us some kind of parse to do that? Yeah, but I don't know. Strange days, but we are grinding to the north. Watch these levels, write them down in your notes, and then, as we do very often, folks, just get yourself to that zone where you're seeing what your 30-minute charts look like, right? That's pretty important. I was up with D, and we were trading RBOB. I think this is it. Nope. RBOB. There we go. RBOB. Yeah, it's RBOB X. RBX 25. There we go. Very big upward pricing pressure. This is really moving to north. We thought there might be a breakdown here, but the continuation north is pretty aggressive, right? Pretty aggressive. I think it's moving with oil back up into this nasty zone of contention. And so further upside, we can see 192 to 195. Downside events, 189, right? So that's going to be pretty important if we lose the 189.80. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I'll see you on the streams. Actually, it's Wednesday, so you won't see me much, but I'll see you there. Take care.